Reports suggest that we've lost up to 80,000 manufacturing jobs since the president took office. Walk me through that tension there, that contradiction.
Well, it can't be true. I mean, sure, the first day, you walk in from the Biden administration, and what happens on the next Friday, they blame Donald Trump, which is silly, right? The tariff world is going to bring in the greatest building of advanced manufacturing. It's not the country's ever seen. It's not even possible to scale.
Well, that's the first bit of truth that Howard Lutnick decided to tell. It's not even possible. The promises that I'm making as far as this economy and all the investments that's coming in and the boom and the golden era that's happening, but not happening yet, but it's going to happen at the end of the year, at the beginning of next year, but it's still happening right now. All those lies that he keeps telling, it's not even possible for you to imagine. It's not possible. You know why it's not possible? Because none of that shit is happening. Here's the normalcy of blaming Biden while at the same time claiming success.
The 2025 is a mixture of Biden's economy and Donald Trump's economy, right? The first quarter was weird because everybody knew tariffs were coming. So there were huge amounts of imports, but that's over. Now you have a 3.8% growth in Donald Trump's first full quarter in office. Pretty darn amazing. So I am really proud of our president. I'm really proud of the way he's attacking this economy. And I think Americans through 2026 are going to feel how incredibly exciting our employment opportunities are. All these construction jobs coming fast and furiously.
This fool said the beginning of the year was a little weird. That's how economists speak and talk about the plans that they have and the results that they get. It's a little bit weird, but you know what? The next quarters are going to get better. And guess what? The next thing's going to happen better after that. And the next better after that. I've been promising this constantly, but what they don't expect for people, I don't know how they expect people to survive up to the point where they're still making these promises that are still based in nothing. These are promises. There's no information behind it. That was the weird part of the year, but it was still Joe Biden's fault. It's weird though, because the small business administrator, her name is Kelly Loeffler. She works for this administration.
As I've walked factory floors, small businesses, main streets with business owners and employees alike, they're feeling the impacts of high inflation, whether it's in their car purchases, their credit cards, buying a home. And small businesses would expand, but the cost of capital right now is disproportionately high to where we are in the interest rate cycle.
Okay, so she acknowledged it and she admitted it. So what happens next? A lot of these folks, every once in a while, will admit what's going on, but they'll never say, therefore, we have to move on. Therefore, this policy has to change. Therefore, this president was lying about this, that, and the third. There's never any results for these, awakenings, when they finally, go woke and realize that people are devastated and are talking about how they're being destroyed. This was where this whole discussion on the economy and these tariff wars and these trade wars that Donald Trump keeps pushing, how it took a big turn for me. Did you guys see this? This is an image of Scott Bessent, the guy who sounds like Herman Munster, talking on TV all the time. Someone got a picture over his shoulder of his, phone, and he got a text, they say, from Brooke Rollins, the ag secretary. In this particular thing, they pointed out that part of it said Argentina sold a large amount of soybeans to China when we would normally be selling to them. This gives China more leverage over us. But I was like, what else was said? How come no one transcribed the whole rest of that message? There's a lot more written there, as you can see. So let me tell you what I zoomed in and saw. She said, just a heads up. I'm getting more intel, but this is highly unfortunate. We bailed out Argentina yesterday, and in return, the Argentines removed their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price, and sold a bunch of soybeans to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China. Soy prices dropping further because of it. This gives China more leverage on us. Couple this development of these idiots just figuring out when you have a trade war with a huge country like that, where so many of our businesses rely on that export to survive. When you cut that off and say, oh, we're going to fold our arms, you can do what we want, China, because we don't need you, you need us. That's what Donald Trump literally said multiple times.
China needs us, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi, as you know, but China needs us much more than we need them. No, I don't see that at all, no.
So now Scott Bessent, his guy, his smart billionaire economic guy, is getting texts talking about how Argentina screwed us up. Do you guys know the history or the story behind this whole Argentina thing? Because I didn't know the full details, and I looked a little bit into it. So, in case you didn't know, this is how bad this is. Maybe you guys remember when Elon Musk was gifted a golden chainsaw. Do you guys remember this? And that guy standing next loser. The guy standing next to him is Argentina President Javier Milei. And Elon Musk and a bunch of other rich guys were very happy to support him. I mean, they were all on board to support this guy. And the reason that he had that chainsaw is because Javier Milei is like, I'm going to follow the same process that eventually Elon Musk did to our country. He came in with a chainsaw, dismantled the government, cut out all kinds of social safety net forms, cut out all kinds of research grants, all these things that we did here. Javier Milei did it first, and Elon Musk, unsurprisingly, was all on board with it, and matter of fact, fueled his rise to power. Elon Musk even posted about it because he was, so sure about it. He said prosperity is ahead for Argentina in relation to this picture of Javier Milei standing there in front of a "Don't Tread on Me" flag. Because, Javier Milei decided to make sure that, he's going to go ahead and play these guys for as much as possible. Elon Musk wasn't done. He was so on board with this guy. He loved everything that he was going to be doing. So much so that after Elon Musk had that picture where he said he had a great meeting with President Javier Milei, he said, I recommend investing in Argentina. So to all of you other, rich guys, I invested in Argentina, and you should too. Let's let a smarter person talk about what it is that was going on in Argentina. His name is Ryan Grimm. Maybe you guys have heard of him. Great reporter, knows what he's talking about.
Because of Trump's trade war with China, China has bought 0 soybeans from American farmers this year. China eats about 2/3 of all the soybeans around the world. Last year, China, I think, accounted for about 52% of soybean purchases. So in other words, without China buying soybeans from U.S. farmers, our farmers are utterly screwed. Now, the only other real alternatives for China are, one, to grow them in China, and they're trying to do that long term, but really to purchase them from Brazil and also Argentina. Most of what they get, when they're not getting it from us, comes from Brazil, but Argentina is also a huge producer of soybeans. So last week, the Trump administration announced a $20 billion bailout of Argentina because Trump said he's supporting his friend in the upcoming election, Javier Milei. Javier Milei, you might remember, this is Elon Musk's buddy who did like a Doge type move on Argentina, and he drove the Argentinian economy into the ground, now needs a massive bailout. So Trump is offering this $20 billion lifeline. The same day that Trump and Bessent announced this lifeline, Reuters reports that Argentina is now shipping massive amounts of soybeans to China and cut its export taxes to 0. In other words, the American money that we're sending to Argentina is making up the gap. So Argentina now doesn't have to charge these export fees on its soybeans. So China gets a huge discount. So China is out there scrambling, trying to find soybeans to feed its population without buying American soybeans because they're in a trade war that we started with them. And Trump just made it much cheaper and easier for China to buy those from Argentina.
Donald Trump is the most incompetent, self-serving, shoot everyone else in the foot type of leader we'll ever see. So did we take all that in? It was almost 2 minutes worth of Ryan Grimm breaking down just that first part, because it gets worse. So you guys heard about the billions of dollars that we gave to Argentina to bail them out. It was to save Javier Milei, because Javier Milei did to his government what we did to ours. I'm sorry, what Donald Trump and Elon Musk did to ours, thinking this is a great standard. This is the approach that everyone should take. So since he took that approach, they donated, they invested in that country thinking that it was going to be a golden era in Argentina, because they're cutting out and punishing every other citizen except for the rich, powerful, and connected. Same thing that they're doing here. After that whole thing fell apart, and also we have our trade war with China as far as soybeans, We bailed them out because Elon Musk and others invested in that country, betting on them to do well. When they don't do well, you have to bail them out because you have to save your own ass with our money. That's why they're stealing. It's one of the reasons why they're stealing our money. But here's the second half from Ryan Grimm.
Now, there's another brutal aspect to this that isn't getting any coverage, and it's that American hedge funds invested heavily in Argentina after Milei was elected because they thought that his libertarian slash everything approach to the economy was actually going to turn things around and make Argentina a good investment. It didn't work at all. The economy collapsed. And so these American hedge funds were about to lose billions and billions of dollars on these stupid investments. But now Besant, a former hedge fund guy, is the Treasury Secretary now, is coming in, and thanks to the bailout, the hedge funds are actually going to make a profit.
The people with power and control will always be in power and control. They'll take the money and they'll bail themselves out, saying, well, we're helping Argentina, we'll make Argentina great again. All you Americans, middle fingers for you. I've got to save my bad investments. None of these guys are good at actually doing what it is that they claim to be good at doing. They just have the power and position to fix their issues, to save themselves from losing money. And at the same time, where do they get that money? They got all that money from us by telling you to be mad at the trans woman over there, to be mad at the black person there, and at that Latino immigrant over there. And while you're doing all that and you hate everybody around you, they're picking your fucking pockets. And every time they mess up with their business dealings or investments in another country for some guy that they propped up to be the guy to fuck things up so that they can then make more money, and it doesn't work because their ideas don't work, you pay for it. And Scott Besant has a message on his phone from the Ag Secretary saying, who could have seen this coming? Did you know that Argentina, after we bailed them out, fucked us over again? Here's Scott Besant trying to explain it away.
I want to get your take on Argentina because, Mr. Secretary, Argentina's peso sliding, politics and capital outflows rattling investors there. Javier Milei, I guess, has lost the confidence of investors. They're pulling their money out of Argentina. They're fearful that he will scrap his defense of the peso. You say all options are on the table, from swap lines to direct currency support. What's the plan in terms of supporting Argentina? Is there one?
The plan is, as long as President Milei continues with his strong economic policies to help him, to bridge him to the election, I call this the screens moving to the streets. We are not going to let a disequilibrium in the market cause his a backup in his substantial economic reforms. I don't think the market has lost confidence in him. I think the market is looking in the rearview mirror and is looking at decades, if not a century, of terrible Argentinian mismanagement. And people are concerned. People are skittish. It's very hard to believe that it is different this time. But I believe with President Milei, it is. It is.
So the issues that are going on in Argentina, because Elon Musk helped that guy implement the same strategy that they've implemented here, is just a disequilibrium in the market. And this because of terrible Argentina mismanagement from years before. Don't those excuses sound just like the excuses that Howard Lutnick and the rest of these guys, Scott Besant and Donald Trump, keep giving us? I mean, don't be so worried about it. It's just a little bit of a shakiness right now. It'll get better later, in 6 months, 9 months, in a year. And also, it's all Joe Biden's fault from that terrible mismanagement from the last administration. Do you see the same damn arguments happening? So apparently the same thing is happening in Argentina, but it's happening so well they needed that how much they give him? Billions of dollars after he gave them all of that money. It's just a disequilibrium in the markets. Not a big deal. We're just taking your money and giving it to someone else. Last bit. Scott Besant, as I pointed out, was a part of this idea to bail out Argentina. And it's partially because of Javier Milei. They want to save him. They even openly said it. They want to save his ass because now he's in political turmoil because he's destroyed their economy. Here's Scott Besant's personal story of why he's doing this. Besant's announcement had massive economic benefits for one American, this being this announcement of saving Argentina. Billionaire hedge fund manager Rob Citroni, who has placed large bets on the future of the Argentine economy. Citroni, the co-founder of Discovery Capital Management, is also a friend and former colleague of Besant, a fact that has not been previously reported in American media outlets. Citroni, by his own account, helped make Besant very wealthy. These two are good friends. They go way back to the hedge fund days of making all kinds of money. So now that Citroni was one of those investors, a bunch of money he's got into Argentina, and he's Besant's best friend, Scott Besant has to, pay it forward because you got to look out for each other. Since Javier Milei, a right-wing populist, became president in Argentina in December of 23, Citroni has invested heavily in that country. Citroni has bought Argentine debt and purchased equity in numerous Argentine companies that are closely tied to the performance of the overall economy. He is tied in. Due to Argentina's massive debt load and chaotic economic history, in 2023, Argentina's inflation rate was over 200%. Citroni purchased Argentine bonds with an interest rate of nearly 20%. And he's declined to detail exactly how much of the $2.8 billion that he manages is invested in Argentina. As this whole thing was falling apart, Citroni was getting a little bit nervous. He's like, yo, I can't lose. How can I lose? I'm a billionaire who's always used other folks to make my money. Here's more information. In the short term, this appeared to be a savvy investment. After taking office, Milei fired, listen, you guys, to these similarities in what Elon Musk did in our government. After taking office, Milei fired tens of thousands of government workers, cut spending on welfare and research, and achieved fiscal balance. Inflation was reduced to around 40%, which spurred economic growth and foreign investment. Argentina's economic rebound contributed to Discovery Capital's 52% on return in 2024. Then it all came crashing down. It gets better. This Citroni situation and Scott Besant, these two guys, these two criminals that have taken our money while you worry about a trans person that you've never met. The austerity measures slowed economic growth. This is where it got bad in Argentina. The austerity measures slowed economic growth, and unemployment spiked to nearly 8%. Millions had a harder time making ends meet after Milei reduced or eliminated subsidies for transportation, medicine, and other necessities. Milei's popularity slumped, leading to speculation that his party could be routed in the 2025 midterm elections, which would hamstring Milei's ability to implement his agenda. This created an economic panic, with investors dumping the peso and liquidating other Argentine assets. Milei has desperately attempted to keep inflation in check. Last week, Argentina's central bank spent more than $1 billion to shore up the peso, but Argentina was running out of foreign currency. A bunch of Americans and I guess other folks were investing in this bet. The bet fell apart. The bet includes exactly what these guys are doing to our economy, or our country, and economy. And here's the kicker. Here's the last one. Besant and the Trump administration then came to the rescue, floating that $20 billion economic package that helped stabilize the Argentine peso and function as a political lifeline for Milei. And in early September, days before Besant's announcement of this bailout, Citroni purchased more Argentine bonds. Do we see it yet? I know it seems complicated, but I wanted to really take that whole extra 25, 30 minutes on this story because it seems like it's so complicated. That is until I just read like 3 articles and listened to a couple guys talk about the lies that they're telling about what it is that's going on and the people that they're saving. So again, even those posts, those memes that go, Donald Trump just gave $20 billion to Argentina, making Argentina great again. What they're doing is they're making their investors and other oligarchs save their asses from their bad business dealings. It's always the way it's been. They make their risks and we pay when they fuck up. I think it's pretty clear.